There's a pretty substantial Final Fantasy XV rumour doing the rounds at the moment, and it relates to, amongst other things, an unannounced expansion for Final Fantasy XV called World of Versus. Now, as we know from Tabata's recent communications, Final Fantasy XV is here to stay. They aren't just treating it as a standalone release with a season pass like many other companies do post-release. 70% of the original development team are still working on it, and they have laid out a 12-month roadmap, with additional content set to be created beyond this point if there's still plenty of interest. It means that as well as episode Gladiolus, episode Prompto, episode Ignis, and the multiplayer expansion called Comrades, there will be plenty of free updates and events like the Moogle Chocobo Carnival. The leak, which comes via 4chan, doesn't talk too much about these specific events, but does go into some of the free updates that will be coming throughout the year. To preface this, the user who leaked this was also the one who leaked the Trial of Titan E3 demo, and in June last year also gave a complete rundown of the game's entire story. That's not to say they will be accurate this time, but there's history there. Anyway, my name is Daryl for those who don't know, and I'm going to be taking you through this leak line by line. Oh, and if you're new, be sure to subscribe for more awesome content and like this video! Okay, so the first point relates to patch 1.05 and the fact that Somnus will play through the final dungeon through fights. It's somewhat confusing wording, but this alludes to the fact that Somnus should pick up after the battle where it left off at the start of the battle. In other words, it's just some continuous loop in the background, and whatever battle music plays is just layered over it as opposed to replacing it. Anyway, this has actually since been debunked despite some claims to the contrary, not because it doesn't happen, but because it's been happening since way before patch 1.05 went live. Reddit user Shirasagi S went through the hard work here, listening to quite a few fights from footage that was uploaded at the start of December, and noted that Somnus did indeed already play through fights, and that it wasn't specifically added in patch 1.05. That kind of puts a bit of cold water on this leak, but I'm going to continue with the rest of it, as the next point relates to episode Prompto, which we know is going to release in June. The leak states that new scenes for Ravus, Niflheim, and the Niflheim Empire will be added to the game via its supporting patch. This seems somewhat plausible as Tabata mentioned back in December that Ravus will be getting additional scenes to help explain his motivations. The only reason I say it's somewhat plausible is that they've already announced that the Chapter 13 rework will be going live alongside episode Gladiolus on the 28th of March, and that, in my opinion, is the most logical place for additional Ravus scenes to go. However, at the moment we don't know too much about how Chapter 13 will be amended, apart from the fact it will have a top to bottom overhaul which will feature enhancements, and Gladiolus will now become playable. They might not be changing the story delivery though, and that could indeed be added at a later date in the update roadmap. It's also plausible that they could be adding additional sequences for Ravus that would play at other parts of the game, so adding these alongside episode Gladiolus might not make sense. The leak then goes on to say that additional scenes for Noctis and Luna will be added. There's not much more evidence for or against this, but if they were to add them, they would likely be focused on the two of them in their younger days. Either that, or if they somehow manage to meet up in Altissia before everything happens with Leviathan. Next up is additional scenes featuring Corleonis and King Regis. These are said to be added alongside episode Gladiolus, which is coming in just over a month. I'm going to go with somewhat plausible again here, as Cor is going to play a prominent role in episode Gladiolus, and with his character being front and centre, it would make sense for additional scenes to be added at this point to expand his character. Regis' representation in the game I think we'll all agree was kind of poor, so additional scenes that would help develop his character would be quite nice. Perhaps these will be some of the ones that were ultimately cut, such as the one at the dinner table or the one from the Dawn trailer, or they could be scenes that help us better understand just how loyal Cor is to his king and why it was decided that he wouldn't be there to defend him. The next two items suggest a platinum demo will be added to the main game as a bonus mode, something which I feel will be quite straightforward, and that episode Ignis will be released in Q4 2017. While no date has been given for episode Ignis, we know that it will be the third piece of character-based DLC, and in my opinion, it's likely to arrive in September or October as Gladiolus is in March and Prompto is in June. This would then give Comrades, the last piece of DLC in the Season Pass, the opportunity to come out in November, which would round out the 12-month roadmap. Alright, so now that everything else is out of the way, we're going to move on to the big, mega, ultimate part of this leak. The other parts aren't all that compelling to be honest, as it's basically just running through everything that we kind of know already that's going to happen. However, this is the bit with some serious potential. The leak says that an unannounced expansion dubbed World of Versus will be unveiled at E3 2017 in preparation for a release in Q1 2018. The rumour states that it will have a much darker tone than the base game, and it will cover the demons Noctis faces during his 10-year slumber. It says that this is the Versus world, the world of dreams that Noctis can enter in his slumber, so there will be themes of loss and tragedy developed and expanded upon. That in itself seems pretty crazy, but also sounds quite cool. And before I delve too much into what I think it might mean and how it might work, I do need to point out that this isn't actually as crazy as it might sound. At the start of this year, Weekly Famitsu spoke to prominent Japanese developers about their 2017 goals, and when they got to Tabata, he said, "This year we will look to evolve our release game Final Fantasy XV more and more, and together with it, we will also evolve. We will further evolve the foundation and know-how of Final Fantasy XV in preparation for new initiatives. Final Fantasy XV is undergoing development for the update, and we're also working on an unannounced awesome expansion, so please look forward to it." Now, this unannounced awesome expansion might not be World of Versus, and it could be something entirely different, but they are working on something, and I feel this approach makes sense, as I don't think it would be seen as a sequel, something which Tabata has consistently denied that they will be making. If it was to exist, I could see it arriving as a budget title, much like Red Dead Redemption has Undead Nightmare, Infamous Second Son had First Light, and Wolfenstein The New Order had The Old Blood. These are standalone expansions that reuse existing assets. As such, consumers aren't charged the full price, and it means the company can continue to profit from all the groundwork of the original, while giving fans something that is much more substantial than a 2 to 3 hour piece of DLC. Expectations for this kind of content should also be lower, but it would still have a good amount of quality, and it's something that I could get behind more than a full-on sequel. It might also be a way that they'd be looking to placate those who are still pining for the original vision of Final Fantasy Versus XIII. As the rumour states, it will be a world of dreams, so anything is technically possible, but I'm not too sure why they would need to do that, and I feel it might do more harm than good if they went down that road. Anyway, how do you guys feel about this leak? Do you think there's a grain of truth in it? And if so, do you think World of Versus is something you could get behind? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. If you'd like to support this channel, please head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/FFunion. These awesome folks have already done so why not join them? Alright, thanks for watching everyone, my name is Daryl and I'll see you next time.